Okay, guys, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about US foreign aid and what it's really achieved. Okay, so let's take the example of Ethiopia. And why Ethiopia? Well, Ethiopia is the second largest recipient of US foreign aid after Ukraine. And obviously, we know Ukraine is a bit of an anomaly because of the war there. So, technically, you could argue that Ethiopia is really the biggest recipient of US foreign aid. It receives more than $1 billion a year in foreign aid. Now, Ethiopia has been receiving foreign aid since when? Since World War II. And that's a very long time ago. So now in 2025, let's see what we have all achieved by giving foreign aid to Ethiopia. And let me caveat this by saying that the intention of foreign aid is to have countries prosper, their populations be elevated and lifted out of poverty. The intention is good, but let's look at the facts. So Freedom House, which is a non-for-profit organization, bipartisan organization, has listed Ethiopia as one of the lowest politically free countries in the world. It actually describes it as an autocratic nation. So that is already a bit of a fail in terms of foreign aid. Secondly, in 2001, Ethiopia qualified for basically not having to pay its loans back to Western countries because the argument was that most of the money was going to repay these loans back and not towards economic development. So Russia, for example, in 1999, canceled $5 billion worth of debt that it owed, saying, okay, it's going to free up your balance of payments. Like, let's go. But as of 2023 and even last year, by some estimates, Ethiopia is still in debt, upwards of almost $30 billion. Not only that, so in 2010, the BBC, again, ostensibly a bipartisan, news source, I think we can all agree, said that the aid money designed for the 1984 and 1985 famine, that money actually went to buy weapons. So there's a history of diverting funds for foreign aid into actually buying weaponry. And this is not just in the case of Ethiopia. There's a litany of countries that have been listed that are doing this. And in 2023, U.S. Agency for International Development announced a temporary suspension of food aid to Ethiopia because the supplies are being diverted. One day later, the UN World Food Program also announced a suspension of aid, citing the same concerns. Guys, I bring this to your attention because if the intentions are not having the effect that you want, which is a country prospering, you have to sit back and think we are actually enabling instability in that country or perhaps in that region. Not only that, you are wasting US taxpayer money. And everyone that I know around me and most people in this country work really, really hard for our money. What is the impact of all of this? Countries that have been literally receiving aid for decades still find themselves in debt, unstable, and unable to provide for their populace. And not only that, with no functioning democratic institutions. So really, what has the foreign aid been going to?